For a movie I had no idea was out, didn't see trailers, haven't heard anything about it, not a bad film. What's going on? I'm Ant. We're going to be talking about Saccharine today, a movie, like I said, I had no idea was out. I had no idea was a thing, to be honest. Like, I haven't seen any trailers. I haven't seen anybody review it. I haven't seen nothing about this film. So I'm actually kind of excited to talk about it because maybe it'll give people the incentive to go see this film because it's not a terrible film. And honestly, it's a film that actually looks pretty solid on the big screen, which is nice. But like I said, I am Ant. I am your casual movie reviewer on YouTube. I don't get into like heavy film methods. I'm not going to pick apart every little thing about a movie and just go in with that critic mindset. When I sit down for a movie, I sit down and I am just enjoying the film and giving a casual viewer's experience, which I think is missing out of a lot of YouTubers that review movies nowadays. But let's talk about Saccharine. I can't even really talk about expectations when it comes to this film because, like I said, I didn't know it was coming out. I didn't know it was out. I didn't see anybody review it. I hadn't seen any trailers. I had no idea anything about this movie. When I scroll through AMC sometimes and I go to the coming soon area, or even when I'm not in the coming soon area, I just look at movies if I've seen like everything that's new-ish. And I saw this and I was like, So I read the description and it sounded not bad. So I went into it. So I can't even really talk expectations, but if you guys are looking for a movie to check out, this is pretty solid. And if you're, ever wondering how I find movies like this, that's how. I just, looking through the AMC app sometimes. Which, speaking of the AMC app and AMC in general, I'm getting really sick and tired of them showing me trailers for movies. And then when that movie does come out, no theaters in my state have the showings. Like, why even show me the trailer then? Like, I understand that AMC probably has it in other states and other cities and things like that, but no showings for like the movie Tuner. No showings for that movie in Michigan. I could not find a showing for that. Or like there was another movie that I wanted to see, the Corporate Retreat movie. I think they were all late showings. That's like another issue, is like every showing that isn't like a big blockbuster hit, bro. Like, even though all the AMCs that I go to have like 100 freaking theaters in their building, they're always late showings, even for like big blockbuster movies. They're always late showings. We need to get some earlier showings out here, like some noon, 1 o'clock showings I'm cool with, and those are most of the time the showings that I go to. But a lot of these big blockbuster hits are just like one freaking showing at night, and it's killing me. But that's enough of my rant. Let's talk about Saccharine now. If you don't know what Saccharine is about, because like I said, I did not. Saccharine is about Hannah, who is going on like a diet, body wellness journey where she's trying to lose weight to look good. And while she's hanging out with friends, she meets an old friend who used to have the same issues as her, who offers her pills that can change her life and make her lose weight really fast. When she decides to start taking these pills, something happens that she was not expecting at all. So if you like body horror, if you like drama, suspense, and dread, this film is for you. I mean, the suspense, the dread that this movie fills you with, and really the mystery that this movie fills you with will keep you invested. Like, this movie had very high tones, and I feel like the director and the writer took themes from The Substance when they created this film and wrote this film. And you can really feel the Substance vibes in this film, which it does it good in this film. And it kind of uses those themes and those tones in its own way and makes a new concept with it, which is really nice. Another film that I felt like kind of took the Substance vibes from it was Slanted earlier this year. There's going to be movies now coming out that they're going to pull from, the original films that have been getting hyped. Like, I'm sure we'll see some movies coming up in the next coming years that pull some inspiration from Obsession, because that movie's, the biggest movie of the year right now, just like The Substance was an original movie, and now we're seeing these movies come out that are taking tones and themes from that. So the pros of this movie The acting is really, really great. Like, I didn't really know these actors and actresses in this film. And to be honest, like, when I left the theater and I started looking up the cast, I've actually seen a lot of this cast in other projects that I didn't really realize that they were in. Like, the main actress was in Good Boys, that, you know, that comedy movie. And then I remembered that she was in that. And she's actually in a lot of decently big projects. So I was surprised. So, like, the acting in this is really, really great. Along with the cinematography, the way they do, like, some of the camera tricks and things like that are really, really nice. I actually kind of enjoyed the way that this film is shot. It looks really, really good. And this film doesn't do anything huge with effects and things like that, but it really does look solid for, like, a basic movie, because there's not a lot, like, creativity. I don't want to say creativity-wise, but there's not a lot of, like, you know, special effects or anything like that that is going to, like, blow you away if you go and sit down for this film. It's a very basic film where it's just, like, following characters, but it still looks really, really good the way it's shot and the lighting and things like that. Along with some of those body horror elements as well, the you know, like, the physical effects of these look pretty solid in this film too. So I think all of that was really well done when it came to this film. So let's talk about some cons. I did end up looking at Letterboxd reviews when I left the theater to see what people were feeling like. And there were other people who thought that they got tones and vibes from the substance. And like I said, you're going to see that coming up from now. And I felt that when I was watching the film. I was like, this is giving me the substance vibes, because it's, you know, the substance, it changes her life and things like that. And then when it comes to this, it's the pills and the human ash that changes her life. So it was really heavily, you know, comparable in movies. So I saw a lot of people doing that. And then a lot of drawbacks that I seen were that people were saying that the story wasn't really fully fleshed out, which there were things that I was like, I could have used a little bit more context into. And then for me, the pacing was a little bit kind of weird. Like, it does feel like a solid, like, complete film, but the runtime in itself as well feels very, very long. Like, this movie's very, very close to 2 hours. I think it's an hour 56 minutes. Like, we could have really done this in an hour and a half and been just as good. So the runtime does feel a little bit long, but other than that, like, there's not a lot of cons for this movie for me. It's just a very basic film, just following characters and telling a decent story. And like I said, because this movie, I had seen no trailers, I haven't heard about it, I really haven't seen any interviews given by the cast to show any, like, film things or anything like that. So I can't really tell you based on interviews and things like that if the cast had fun. But it really does look like they enjoyed, you know, fleshing into some of these characters. There's a little bit of a love story in this film. There's, you know, some, you know, parental trauma in this film. But there's also some fun elements of just, you know, loving yourself and getting into a character that you can enjoy bringing to the screen. So I feel like that does translate on screen, that they really did enjoy bringing these characters to life while also doing something that they probably haven't done before. Because, like I said, the main actress who plays Hannah in this film, I don't think she's ever been in a horror film. And, you know, you can just, when you change your style of what you're filming and what you're in, I feel like you do have an enjoyment when it comes to something that you're really, really proud of being in. So let's talk about the standout moment of the film. If you guys don't know what I do, this is the standout moment, which means this is the moment in the film that brings this film to a way crazier point than it already was. It takes it to a way crazier level if we've already seen some pretty crazy, and it takes the story to the next step to get us towards that ending that we might enjoy. Now, I'm not really gonna, when I say standout moment, I'm really not gonna give a single scene. I'm just going to give you something that happens in a lot of scenes. Like, this is gonna be a very different standout moment from other videos that I've done. I'm gonna give you a moment that really, like, every time that this happened in a scene, you knew that scene was gonna be crazy, and it really adds to the story elements. So it's not gonna be like one single scene like other standout moments. It's gonna be more of a thing that we see in multiple scenes that, you know, like, when this does happen, it does bring the story and the scene itself to a crazier level. And that simply is going to be when the spirit of Grace, I think her name was Grace Childs, but they called her Big Bertha because she was like a bigger cadaver that they were doing in medical school. When her spirit was, walking around or knocking stuff over or sitting on a bed, and you could see like the huge impressions or the weighing down of things, or like the weighing down on her body when she was on top of Hannah, was really, really interesting. And that every time that you saw that effect, and every time that you saw, her coming through, or even like when you seen her through a mirror or a reflection, you just knew that scene was going to have something special. You knew that scene was going to be crazy. And I just think every time you've seen that in any of these scenes, it was a crazy scene that added something to the film. So let's talk about Ant's 3 big questions. Would I watch it again? Would I recommend it? And is it going to be better on streaming or in theaters? Would I watch it again? I probably would. Honestly, like, this isn't a crazy, crazy film. It's very basic. It's very, not something that is very innovative, but it is enjoyable. Like, I was in a screening by myself, and I never, like, when I'm in a screening by myself, sometimes I check the time depending on what the movie is, or I look things up. Like, I did look up one thing because I'm not, like, really fully fluent in kilograms, and this movie's like an Australian film, so everything is in kilograms, so I did want to compare. So that was the only time I looked at my phone. But through this movie, I really, really didn't check my phone at all. It did keep my attention. So it was an enjoyable film that I probably will watch again. Now, would I recommend it? Probably. If you enjoyed The Substance, you're probably going to get some enjoyment out of this, which is good because, like I said, The Substance was a huge film. I think it came out in 24. I can't remember if it came out in 24 or 25, but it was a huge film when it came out. It was original, and now you can see some of these other films starting to pull tones and themes from that. And I think if you enjoyed that, you're definitely going to enjoy this. Just like if you enjoyed Slanted, you'll probably enjoy this as well. Is it going to be better in streaming or in theaters? Now, to be honest, as basic as this film was, it looks really, really good on the big screen. And I didn't even see it on like Dolby or anything like that because I don't think it had Dolby showings. And usually when a movie has Dolby showings, I will make sure I go to the Dolby showing. But this was on standard, digital screen at AMC. And even for it being on that, like, movies don't look terrible on those screens, but this looked really, really good. Just like, I don't know what kind of camera they shot it with, but it looks really, really like clear and really nice. So I definitely think if you can go to see this in the theaters, you should, because I've said this in multiple videos. I just enjoy seeing any movie on the big screen, but this one especially looks, for some reason, really, really clear, really, really nice, just like really good quality, especially being on a digital screen. But I do think this movie is going to do better at home because, like I said, I haven't seen anything about this film. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's like, it's not one of those movies that's getting out there right now. Like, some movies that are getting big talk right now is obviously still Obsession. Backrooms comes out this week. Passengers is kind of getting crushed in between Backrooms and Obsession. Like, your Passengers is going to get lost. But yeah, like, so nobody's talking about this, and I think that's also going to get lost. So if and when this movie does come to streaming, or you can rent it at home, it's probably going to do better then because nobody's talking about it right now, and it's just going to be something that you find scrolling through streaming one day. So with that being said, I gave this film a 3.5 stars out of 5, and that's just simply because the movie was enjoyable. It really, 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 really good, but that runtime just really drew me back. I was like, man, is this almost over? Because there were a couple scenes that I was like, okay, we've seen this before. Let's get going. Let's finish this out. And there are some scenes that are dragged out. But all in all, like, it is an enjoyable film. It's something unique in its own way, and it's just like enjoyable in its own way. Thank you guys for stopping by for another movie review. Let me know if you've seen this. Have you even heard of it in the comments down below? And I will see you guys in the next movie review. Peace.